क्लियर होना बहुत ज़रूरी था कि किस तरह बनाते हैं और उसका implication क्या है in the organization. So let's start at this topic of group formation, the teamwork and group work in the organizational behavior. We, in the first beginning of the class, we talked about a teamwork situation in a picture. In these two pictures, we came to know how can we achieve a common objective by forming a group. For example, in this situation, there were two dogs which were attached with a rope. They were struggling to reach at a destination at their own end, and they did their best, but they could not. None of them could reach at the destination. So, in another situation, you came to know when these two dogs came together, discussed something, and they formed a group, and they easily got to the destination together. So this was a kind of situation where how for human being, how can we make groups, and why should we make groups, and what is the logic behind forming a groups. So we discussed that when two or more individuals come together and to achieve a particular objective, they remain interdependent and interacting with each other to achieve that particular objective. This was the whole story about the meaning of the group and this purpose of the group. Purpose is to just to achieve an objective collectively by putting all the efforts of those individuals. So there are two situations. One is the formal group, another is an informal group. And we also discussed about the formal group is designated work group that through an organizational structure. For example, we took an example of the assignment number 3 in organizational behavior. So I have assigned you this assignment to work in a group of 2 people. So you 2 people sit together and you make a plan and distribute the work, and finally you come with a complete accomplishment of the task to achieve your objective. The objective is to prepare a research paper that could be publishable. So this objective to achieve, you make a group, and this is a formal group, while an informal group is just like any 2 people come together and form the group without formal structuring of an organization, then that is not necessary, but just for the sake of social contact, they form group that is informal. So then we discuss classification of the groups. So we came to know there are 4 classifications, like a command group, that is a kind of a formal structure group, where these people when come in a command group, so they have to report to a manager who manages this group. The person who manages a group and the members of the group have to report that person after completing their task. Whereas the task group is just to perform a task, to complete a job. So when 2 or more people interacting and they remain interdependent for the sake of completing a task, and that is a kind of informal group, but they are not necessarily responsible to respond to a manager. So that's the difference. So another is the interest group and friendship group. Interest groups are like a same field or similar or kind of work interest people. So who joined groups and within their own field of interest, their own specialty, their own taste. So they join together and they perform some specific tasks within their areas of interest, and they may be a kind of formal and informal as well, because if and this sort of interest groups is to report a manager, that becomes a formal. If these kind of interest groups will have not to report a manager, that becomes an informal group. Similarly, when you look at this friendship group, so this is from the name friendship, you came to know that when two or more friends who have some like-mindedness, so they join groups and they with common characteristics, and they perform some tasks together. So this was the all story about group formation. And then we discussed types of groups and teams in the
Excuse me, sir.
organization.
Sir,
So that was we yesterday look at Aman. अगर मुझे जगह दे तो बाद में बात करें. So types of groups
excuse me,
and
sir.
teams in the organization. So there is a picture. We look at the hierarchy of this teams and in the organizations. So if you look at this one, there is a president, an executive committee, legal advisors, and then project managers. So you can look at these things in the light of the hierarchy. Based on the hierarchy, there are teams, and within teams there are further sub teams and classification of people in different areas. So this was one of the things which can help us to make sense of types of groups and team organization. Now the question was why people join groups? Why not individuals to work in an organization? From the very beginning, we have been discussing organizational behavior. So organizational behavior is not only the behavior of the organization, it's behavior of an individual, it's the behavior of group, and the behavior of organization. So when we talk about the behavior of the organizational behavior, that is at three levels: individual level, group level, and organizational level. So that's one of the things is the groups. People join groups because of some common interests, because of some common features. So one of them was security, status, self-esteem, affiliation, power, and goal achievement. And we yesterday talked about these terms, why this security matters in a group. Is this security is better in a group, or is as compared to individual or not? So what is the status? What is the status of this group? Why individuals? Aman, can you switch off your mic, please? So. So at the same time, you can see the self-esteem when someone in a group contributes at the end at the personal level, and in the group level that becomes meaningful. So their self-esteem develops. At the same time, and sometimes the situations, if someone only one person is dominating a group, the rest of the people, the self-esteem becomes low. There are pros and cons as well. And at the same time, affiliation, power, and goal achievement, we discussed thoroughly about these things yesterday. After discussing these things, we came to know there are basic 4 stages. And the 5th stage was adjoining stage. That was lastly we also discussed it at that stage. So these 4 stages was the forming, storming, norming, and performing. And one by one, we thoroughly gone through what is the forming stage. For example, we discussed the forming stage is a stage where people come together and define the nature of the task, and they also discuss with each other. They try to explore each other's strengths and weaknesses, and in this way they become familiar with each other, and with specific reference to the task that has to be completed. So this was the forming stage. And after becoming very familiar with the task and very familiar with each other's strengths and weaknesses, this stage allows the group to move towards the storming stage, there where people start interactions formally with a specific reference to the task by uh, um, defining roles and assigning things with each other to each other, and agreeing at a point that who will have to do what and why, etc. At this stage you can make sense of your own role to perform, and after that you establish and maintain team ground rules, and that is the norming stage, because you have given a particular task and how you will perform that task in the group. So that stage enables you to, this will be the, for example, we have taken an example of the assignment 3. For example, in assignment number 3, 2 people are assigned to complete this paper. If the leader and the lead, the first person who is leader will lead, will have some sort of individual task and that individual task is, for example, to write the introduction part of the paper, while the second member in the group will be a follower who will also read whatever the first person, that is the leader, has written the introductory part, and will add his or her contribution as well as a reviewer, like, or editor. But the second person will lead in the literature review, for example, or writing the methodological part also. So in this way, you distribute tasks among yourself, the members of the team, and you ensure who will do what and how you add your own input. So in this way, in norming stage, you set the ground rules, establish and maintain how to do and what to do, and who will, look at all those kind of the things are going smoothly or not. So after that, the final stage is the performing stage. You will complete your task within those rules and regulations, and you will done the job, and you will submit to your manager, and that is the performing stage. Once you have submitted, so that is the task, you have done it, and you will be assessed, and your task is finished, and there is no need to continue in this team. So that is the final adjourning stage. So we discussed yesterday that the adjourning stage. So this was how we can make sense of this team building and its importance for your the group assignments. When you are working group assignments, you need to understand these pros and cons, the group structures and their roles, what kind of the roles you are performing, how you expect your team member to perform a job. So this expectation is also very critical, because you are team members, you have came to a certain point where you have distributed the nature of the task equally. Somewhere you are leading, somewhere your colleague is leading, and you are following. So in this way, finally, you uh, uh, directly or indirectly play your role from top to bottom of the task. So that is how you expect each other and perform at that level. There are some, conflicts as well, because of if the situation is not uh, um, facilitating according to what your expectations or what the task has been divided, uh, if that is not happening accordingly, so there will be conflicts. So there will be, hue and cry among the members of the group. So that is a situation that may arise. And to avoid this role conflict, you need to make sure how you can enable each other and set targets with the timelines, and push each other very gently, so that you should not hurt your team member on one hand. At the other hand, you should not lose the task. So in this way, you can remain connected with interdependent tasks. So this was the whole scope task of this particular team building. So you can look at this slide: expected role, sent role, pursued role, and enacted role. So there are different, looking at the role, you can make sense of this, what kind of the role you have pursued and how you enacted, what kind of the role that was expected, and you sent the role. So means once you are very much clear about what to perform and how to perform and why to perform a particular role, so you need to be very much clear with your team member what the team member is expecting you. Are you very much clear about your team members expectation, your team members pursued your role and his or her role? So that is very much important in the team, to be very clear about the roles ends at your end at the team members end. So that's how you can help each other. The group structure, for example, there are some norms. Norms are very important as well. For example, classes of the norms, you can look at performance norms, appearance norms, social arrangement norms, and allocation of the resources norms. So here you can further look at the task with specific reference to its norms. So you should not abuse a particular sort of task by ignoring the norms of the performance, by ignoring the norms of the your own appearance in the task. For example, if you have a particular role to perform, and you even did not interact with your team member, and you did not appear where you should appear, your presence is important, and you assigned that task to someone else who was not in the team. So in this way, that is an norm abuse. So avoiding that one, and you will look at the norms of the the task, so you can make sense of how this uh, allocation of the resources, social arrangements, appearance, and performance norms are important for successfully completing the task that is assigned in a group. When you look at the group structure at particularly conformity level, so at adjusting one's behavior to align with norms of the group, this conformity means here you have to compromise with some sort of your colleagues' behavior in order to remain very patient, remain very focused, and remain with the alignment of the group to achieve the collective objective. So for that, you have to make sure that you are adjusting your own behavior with the behavior of the team members, and that is one of the critical aspects of the this group structure. Another thing is the reference groups. For example, important groups to which individuals belong or hope to belong, and with those norms, individuals are likely to conform. Here, you will have to be very much clear about the individuals who belong to your own group, as well as the others who directly or indirectly influence your behavior in the group. So you need to be very much conscious about that one, and you need to focus on the final objective that is collectively decided to achieve at the end of this thing. Similarly, deviant workplace behavior, that is something very much undesirable. For example, if you do not compromise your own behavior with the behavior of the other people, and you deviate and you become violent by ignoring the norms and the rules of the group that has established. So there will be some sort of tug of war, and the individuals in the group will come with negative consequences for the organization or for the members, even for themselves as well. So that is kind of the deviant work behavior need to be very much understood and controlled in the organization. Otherwise, you will indulge with each other and you will not perform the task that was decided to perform initially. So that is how you can make sense of that deviant work behavior. Another thing is that is the status. So when you look at that status, so a socially defined position is called a status, or the rank given to the group or the members of the group. For example, group members status, for you can see group norms, status, equity, culture. So you can make sense of group member status. This is your group equity, the culture of that particular the group that has developed. So all together, it shows a social position. It gives you a kind of identity. So it's a good group, or struggling group, or it's a successful group, or it's an indulging group like that. So that status kind of name. Another thing is social loafing. Social loafing means the tendency for individual to expend less effort than work in collectively than when working collectively than when working individually. Social loafing is a blessing because of the synergy. You put your own effort in the group, and your colleagues also put their own efforts in the group, and collectively that becomes much greater than what you can individually do. So yesterday, one of our colleagues were discussing. Uh, so can we do this assignment individually? Yes, you can do individually, but this social loafing will help you when you join a group. So because of your own efforts, your colleagues' efforts, all those efforts will enhance the performance of the task that you are assigned. But if you can do it at individual level, so that could be a kind of your individual effort, but the input from the other colleagues will be missing, and that is the collective wisdom. When there is a collective wisdom, and based on that collective wisdom, some task is performed collectively, that would be greater than the individual one. Similarly, there are some things which you can look at in the form of composition, group structure. You see there is a demography of the group, because of the people coming from different identity like sex, age, race, educational level, skills level, and their attitude towards performing a particular thing, accepting a culture. So all this defines group demography. So because of that, you need to understand this composition, and you have to be very much clear about this is the reality, and these are the differences, and we have to be very much clear about our objective, that is the collective objective, and we need to be very much sensible to focus on the objective rather than the differences among the members of the people. So that's how you can make a sense of team member. For example, when we say cohorts, you heard about the term cohort, particularly class cohorts, team. You can course cohorts. You have heard about these words. Individual who, as part of a group, hold a common attribute, and that is called a cohort. Cohort 2008 MED, for example. When you look at that cohort, so they have some sort of common attributes of that class. Similarly, that when you join a group, that cohort members of the group become cohorts. In the structure of this group, you can see cohesiveness. Cohesiveness is linked with uh, uh, how you in the team you behave in order to ensure the objective in your mind, and making your own contribution that is very fruitful for the larger interest of the group, and you increase the group status, and you reduce the difficulties in the group, and you contribute your time, you contribute your energy, you contribute your resources. Your input is visible in the group, so that the members of the group should realize that you are contributing, and you are a motivated person in the group. So in this way, other will get a kind of inspiration, and they will behave in the same manner, so as to enhance this cohesiveness in the group member. So that is the dynamics that you need to understand when you join a group. There are some factors that influence group cohesiveness. For example, when you look at the factors that increase cohesiveness and the factors which you look at they decrease the cohesiveness. For example, large group size, that 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 is not good for increasing cohesiveness, rather than that decreases, because when there is a small number of members in a group, their interaction, their interdependency, their frequent interaction in line with the objective will be higher, so that increases the cohesiveness. So that is the intergroup company, that a kind of is another example that enhances. When you there are different groups, small size groups, and they have competitions, they increases the cohesiveness within the group and also among groups. But when in a one group there is a large number of people, that decreases the cohesiveness. Similarly, when the disagreements on a goal, that decreases. When there is a kind of domination of one person is speaking every time, one person is exerting the effort in the team, and the rest of the people remain silent, that decreases. And vice versa, when you become agreed with the goals, and your interaction is very much healthy, and you have a kind of a favorable evaluation mechanism, and your personal attraction in the group is there, so that increases the cohesiveness of the group, and you remain focused on the task to complete within deadline. So these are the factors which you need to understand while working in a group. So there are some other kind of the things, your symptoms of the group dysfunctionality. So when if group is poorly performing, so what kind of the symptoms should be like that? For example, one member dominates other. That is a kind of dysfunctionality. So disagreement do not lead to productivity, because if there is a large group of large size of the group, and everyone giving their own voice, do not agreeing the collective goal, so disagreement is not productive for that group, and that is a symbol, that is the symptom of dysfunctionality. Silence in the norm. For example, some members do not contribute and remain silent, and their input is missing, so that also is a symbol of dysfunctionality. Members do not attend meetings or disrupt when they do attend, so that is you can make sense of that. So if you either you're not attending the meeting even, or when you are in the meeting and in between you disrupt the situation, so that is also a symbol. You wish you were in the another team. If you have this sort of feeling, that also a symptom. No one acknowledges that the team has a problem. If that is the situation, that is yet another symptom of the group. Now come to a particular point, that is teams in the organization. A group of workers who function as a unit, often with little or no supervision to carry out work-related tasks, functions, and activities. So this particular definition, you of the difference between a team and a group. So far, we thoroughly gone through how can we make sense of the teams and groups and this and that. The symptoms, we talked about the factors influencing the group. We talked about the structure of the groups and this and that. Now here we introduce a particular term, that is the teams in the organization. So a group of the workers and vice versa. We have come up with the groups as well. But here, what is the basic difference that make a team different from a group? If everyone in the group of workers who function as a unit, one unit, everyone is responsible for the success and failure equally as a unit, that's the team. If everyone is only responsible for the particular task assigned to the individual within the role, and not the complete task, so that is a kind of, you can make sense of the difference between a group and the team. In the team, you are performing your role, as well as equally you are responsible for the performance of the other. It is like an organizational citizenship behavior. In the team, this organizational citizenship behavior to inculcate is a must, while in the group it's not necessarily developing an organizational behavior, where you need to perform your role at your end. That is enough. But here, this is very much related with this organizational citizenship behavior. Often little or no supervision to carry out work-related task functions. This particular philosophy is very important. If someone in the team asks you or not, you are very much clear about your role to perform at highest level. At the same time, you are conscious about the role of the others to be performed at level. For that, you can contribute your knowledge, skills, and in this way you remain very much connected with your performance as well as performance of the others. So that's how you can. Why teams become problem? Teams typically outperforming individuals. Teams use employee talents better. Teams are more flexible and responsive to changes in the environment. Teams facilitate employee. Teams are an effective way to democratization and motivation. So that's why you can make sense of teams. Here you can see how do we make a team effective. Tips. What kind of tips? Recognition of the group members. Here we use the term group process. Group process. Recognition of the group process. How this group has formed, and what kind of the processes you have gone through, and in so doing, how you remain focused on the common objective and inculcating this organizational citizenship behavior in the members of that particular. For example, you need to look at the plan, shared vision, common objectives, playing goals that help the group function. To evaluation has been performed, and according to that level of the performance, that's very much clear. Otherwise, there should not be that level of rewards to due to the people who have not done very much clearly. Here, this slide will make further make a difference between the group work and teamwork. When you look at this symbols, group works, there are members, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members. These 5 members in teamwork or work teams, you can see how interconnected these members are. as I earlier talked about, they are in their own tasks, and they are also very much linked with the performance of the others. They are very much conscious. The not only the high performance of their own, but also high performance of the individual. So for that, they are interacting, they are interdepending, they are contributing, they are there everywhere, every time, to share their shared information, the collective performance, positive input, individual and mutual complementary. So all those kind of the things are in work teams. Whereas in group work, that's good. You share the information, whatever you have. Once you have shared, that's enough. Neutral. You are neutral because you have nothing with bother about the performance of the other. You have done your part of the job. That is enough. In the group, you have done. For example, when we take example of this assignment number 3, your task was to write a literature review, and your colleague's task was to write introduction part. So once you have done your part, you are least bother about the other colleagues' work. You just edit your work and remain as an individual, and you do not critique or input at the work of the other. So you just edit there. Your colleague edit, you edit. That is all together. You have completed the task that is submitted. That is the nature of the work group. Whereas in teamwork, okay, you have written the introductory part of the assignment, and your colleague has written the literature review. Now you both interact, you read both each other, and you feedback to each other, so that you both must be at the same pace, and you are contributing each other to make this particular portion of the paper is a wonderful portion. There is a smooth flow of ideas. There is very much clear. Both are very much clear. So this is the difference between group work and the teamwork. So I guess you have made very clear about these kind of the things, and hopefully we will continue if this allows us to make a further meaning of the terms, the difference between group work and